Jamaica Women's Premier League recap show. Here home for all the action, drama, and the standout moments from the Jamaica Women's Premier League. 1 month down and the competition is already heating up. We've seen dominant performances, surprise results, and some early title contenders beginning to emerge. My name is Javid Bryan, and to break down the analysis with me is JWPL Williams, the man they call the guru boss for the Jamaica scene as regards to football. What's up, man?
I'm here. It's always a pleasure to be here speaking about football, especially the Jamaica Women's Premier League. It's so exciting and the season is really off to a quick start.
Definitely off to a quick start. Let's talk about match week 1. A lot to unpack from that. We see the defending champions. We've seen some beaten semi-finalists as well, and beaten finalists taking charge in the opening week. Any key takeaways?
Yeah, I think it was always going to be a little bit difficult to tell based on the fitness levels of each team, how prepared they were coming into the season tactically. But I think one team that really stood out to me was Arnett Gardens, how dominant they were in their victory. You could tell that they had a different type of fire in their bellies as opposed to last season when they got to the semi-finals. So they were always going to be intriguing to watch, and they certainly came out and proved a point.
Yeah, definitely loved watching Arnett Gardens. You talked about fire. They look like they really want it this year. Really emphatic performance at the Anthony Spalding Sports Complex with the captain, Tanisha Hamilton, doing pretty well. We saw Abigail Mullins. We've seen a real screamer from Forbes with that beautiful goal there, probably a goal of the season contender. But definitely, Wi-Fi United, they opened strong as well with a 2-0 win over Proven Girls. UWI Mona, they held to a draw with Cavalier at the UWI Mona Bowl. Fraser's Whip secured a solid 3-0 win over Los Perfectos. Let's talk about them. They've lost a very key player, but it doesn't seem to be a big loss at all.
Yeah, I mean, as we'll get on to, they've lost, but they've also gained quite a bit, Fraser's Whip. And they do have some sort of continuity, Courtney Dowdy returning as their head coach. And we know that Fraser's Whip is a team filled with quality, and I'm sure throughout the season, throughout this show even going forward, we'll speak more about what they do tactically that I think that sets them apart. But yeah, they're a team of immense quality. I wouldn't say they were as blinding as they were last season in terms of their attacking performances or even defensively as well. But it's going to take some time for them, and I think they'll settle into what they want to do.
Definitely Coach Dowdy making some real impression on the league early. He's a man who seems to doesn't get worried about the negative side of things. He always seems to want to use what he has to really come again and put some big performances forward. Springers edged Mile Gully 1-0, and Federal United narrowly defeated Real Mobe 1-0 as well. So match week 1 was pretty packed. We brought 2 games, and it was lovely to be on commentary, especially for that Arnett Gardens game. Let's see what the coaches had to say at the end of those 2 games. Tell us about the experience today.
It was a good experience for the girls. We have a lot of young players that we have shown a lot of loyalty to, and that is part of it, So they are young, and this is their first taste of the Premier League. So we'll roll with the punches. There's a lot of things that we learned today. So it's all about going back to the training ground, and we'll come again.
Coach Dowdy, we talked before the start of the season. You said it was going to be a challenge. I guess challenge accepted.
Yes, it was a challenge, and I think we fought at the latter end for the game, and I'm proud of the girls.
I guess welcome back to the Premier League. Not the result that you would have wanted today, but I'm sure you would see some positives.
Yeah, most definitely. We've come back into the league, our first game. What a game to have against Arnett Gardens, a team that finished 3rd last year. But we had an objective today, and I think we came out to do that. I said earlier that we're coming to play some good football, and I think that, yeah, we might have not won on the scorecard, but I think we won some hearts today.
A good showing today. Beautiful football all around. Can we expect to see this momentum continue to the end of the season?
Yes, definitely. First, I want to give thanks to the Most High, because He make it possible. And as I say, beautiful football. We're just glad that we get off the ground running, and I'm sure you're gonna see even better as the season progresses.
So different perspectives from these coaches, especially those who are on the winning side of things. Coach Dowdy seemed to be very modest in his response and his reaction to his first game. What do you think about what he had to say?
Yeah, you said the right word when you say modest. That's how he tends to be. I think he holds his cards really close to his chest. He knows that, especially after match week 1, that he would have some more players coming in. He knows that they're probably, one might say, even the scourge of the league right now, the envy of the league right now, because they already won the title last season, already have a lot of quality. Yes, they lost players, but then they proceeded to bring in, so many quality players from their opponents. So it's always going to be a big talking point. I think he's trying to avoid that being the narrative of his team, trying to keep pressure off them, and he's just trying to focus on what's going on the pitch, and what's going on the pitch for Fraser's Whip is certainly something to behold.
You're absolutely right. He seems to be taking all the big hits for his team. Because I know a lot of coaches are also talking about the Fraser's Whip and what they have been doing to keep themselves at the top. So he's really protecting the team and ensuring that they're really focused on gameplay and just being on the field and getting ready. Arnett Gardens also humbling their response. They seems to be putting things in place to get it right this time.
Yeah, definitely. Behind the scenes, you hear about Arnett Gardens, and if you just speak about the community of Arnett Gardens, even if you were to go further to the senior men's team, everything about Arnett screams football. When you go into the jungle, go into the Anthony Spalding Sports Complex, they are very, very serious about their football all around. And I'm sure the team, the coaching staff, the supporters would have been pleased in some aspects last season, but still a bit disappointed that they couldn't at least go a little bit further. So I think all in all for them, it's just about getting over that next step, because we know what the fans especially demand, and that's trophies, that's success. So Arnett Gardens, they're certainly a team that impressed me. As I said, they impressed me the most in match week 1.
Yeah, the Junglists, they have something to prove. Finalists for a couple of years, well now, and not being able to bring home the title to Arnett Gardens. So match week 2 brought even more intensity. Real Mona and Proven Girls, they shared points in a 1-1 draw. Cavalier got past Wi-Fi United 2-1. Arnett Gardens, they continued their form with a 3-0 win over UE Women. Los Perfectas beat Michael, getting their first win of the season, 3-0. Fraser's Whip defeated Federal United 3-1. And of course, Springers United impressed with a 3-0 win over Real Mauvais. Let's talk about that week. Pretty interesting results. There are some who lost in the first week, getting their first win, and some big teams even dropping points.
Yeah, you speak about what we would have seen, as I said, big teams dropping points. And I think that speaks to, first of all, the competitiveness of the league so far. I think that has increased, in my estimation, as opposed to last season. And you speak about surprise results. You said that at the top of the show. Springers United, many people would have seen them as maybe an afterthought coming into this season, but they started the season really well. First 2 weeks, 2 very good performances, and most importantly for them, being the team that would have conceded the most goals last season, 2 clean sheets to boot as well. So that boded very well for their confidence, and I think it showed that they are a team that's going to be more competitive this season, and they're playing with a lot of skill, a lot of confidence, and they're certainly pushing the boundaries of what people would have expected.
I mean, that's it about the league in terms of heightening the quality. We're seeing teams who weren't so dominant in their performances last season are really making strides to make headway into not just how they perform, but into building a comprehensive team that can take hit in terms of whether players are injured or losing players to transfers. Springers United are definitely one to look out for in terms of going forward. And Los Perfectos, they have lost some players, and they have put some new players in the squad as well, making them strong. I mean, they lost their opening game, but it was really a good fight, and bouncing back this week to get the win.
Yeah, Los Perfectos, they're always, I think if you know anything about, because football in Jamaica is all about the communities. Community teams, as I mentioned, Arnett Gardens before, they have a very strong responsibility to almost carry the happiness of that entire community. And Los Perfectos is one of those teams. If you speak about football I would say in the Mandeville area, of course, no disrespect to Mile Gully, who are also from the area, but Los Perfectos are a historic club, and they have a lot of expectations on themselves as well. So especially being competitive in this league is very important to them. They had a pretty good season last year, getting to the semi-final as well. So for them, I think it's all about consolidation. But as you mentioned, it will be very difficult because they have lost players. They have replaced them, but that period that they would need to gel and really get things going again is going to be very important for them.
Definitely. So the momentum beginning to build for some teams while others struggle to really find consistency. Time now to hear from those coaches as regards to what happened at the end of those games.
Coach Peterkin, tough loss today, but there's a old adage in coaching where we say you learn a lot more when you lose than when you win. Tell me what you take from today's game.
Again, we were out 3 players, unfortunate from based on the last game. But we saw a lot of positive. We made some changes, so we saw some positive from it. So we'll continue to build on that to move into our next game next Saturday.
You talk about not having the numbers sometimes to train, but what we saw today was a complete team performance. And despite that, there wasn't a player on the part that we could point to say didn't have a good game.
That's what I'm saying. You see, we train in patches, but when they come together, we talk about it so everybody can understand when to move, how to move on. So it worked today, and we can continue doing this, but I would have loved to see at least 13, 14 players, But I'm happy to be around them, and I think they are enjoying it, and, I'm just going to take this step by step. Who knows? God, it's the kind of limit, and they haven't been, but first history they've been back-to-back games, so it must be doing something for them good.
Yeah, some strong words from both coaches. What's your take from it?
Yeah, I mean, many coaches have, I don't want to say complained about, the training structure of their teams. Obviously, some things are out of their control. One thing that I love about this league is that it's very heavily centered around youth. So that's always going to be a challenge because at the end of the day, education is very, very important. So, these players, they'll have school. It's difficult to get them to train consistently. It is around exam time on the island of Jamaica as well. So it's going to be difficult. It's good that these teams will have experienced coaches around. When you speak about Paul Teagat Davis, his success at all levels of football, especially on that side of the island in Montego Bay, is there to be seen. He's a legend of the game. So it's good that he's involved in that program. And yeah, interesting words, but the coaches tend to say pretty interesting things.
I mean, it's good that you mentioned youth because it's really right across all the teams in terms of average age, probably around 15, 16, thereabout. So it really takes on, these coaches have to be really skillful in their art as in regards to developing players. And we've seen that Fraser's Whip is doing well with it. We see Arnett Gardens doing well with it. We see Cavalier doing well with it as well. So a big part of these coaches' mantra going forward is always to be developing and constantly developing players, not necessarily getting players who are of certain age and ready to play high-quality football. But we're seeing high-quality football from these youngsters.
Yeah, and it's always a balancing act when it comes on to coaching because, yes, when you mention the average age being so low, it's going to be a challenge because, as we mentioned already, some teams, some communities demand instant success. So it's always going to be interesting how coaches can balance getting that instant success on the pitch while at the same time developing the players in the correct way. Because you mentioned that there will be maybe a player that's more ready now to play, but there's a younger player that has more potential, has the ability to grow like the player A wouldn't have. But because player A is more ready, coaches might feel a little bit more pressure to put them in and play them. So I think it's all about getting that balancing act right. And once they do, or once they try to do, I think those are the teams that tend to be more successful.
Yes, and of course we have to factor in that some of these girls are actually playing in the schoolgirl football tournament as well. So balancing that with the league and, maintaining fitness, maintaining focus, different game plans, different tactics. And so, it's very tough for these youngsters and they're developing at a very fast rate. Match week 3 delivered goals and standout performances as well, proving girls they drew with Cavalier, UU and Real Mona. That game did not play and had to be rescheduled, but I'm going to tell you about that game as regards to the rescheduling of that one. Arnett Gardens dominated again, beating Wi-Fi United 4-1, Los Perfectos edged Federal United 1-0. Mike Gully picked up a strong 3-1 win over Real Mobay, and Fraser's Whip we see were very ruthless in thrashing Springers 4-0. Before we hear from the coaches, I sent a message in our WhatsApp group, that's the Sora Media Production group, as regards to we were so unlucky in not televising what I think was the best football game so far this season, and that was that Real Mona game versus UE. I point them to going back to a Barcelona Real Madrid 5-0 win in 2010. that game was spectacular. When you talk about putting the football on the ground, movements, constant movement, quality goals. I mean, that team that lost to Arnett Gardens in the opening fixture was not the same Real Mona that we saw getting by Yui. It was really amazing to see. So Neil has a program there, and he seems to be getting probably warm at the right time.
Yeah, and that's very important, and especially when you're playing that style of football, it's all about familiarity when it comes on to the players. As you said, it was a much different team that you would have seen against Arnett Gardens in the opening game. And when it comes on to that familiarity, it's all about knowing when to move, how to move. So it's not necessarily something that you can coach effectively. It's all about the instincts of the players at times. So it's difficult, but when it comes off, as you said, in those instances, it's always going to look spectacular. And Real Mona, they've been going from strength to strength, and they're certainly sending out a couple of shots, warning shots around the league.
Yeah, they played last time in the league was 2019, so they're basically returning to the Jamaica Women's Premier League. And that game was rescheduled because when Yui went to their home ground, that is Real Mona, they weren't pleased with the conditions of the field, and so it had to be rescheduled. But it was rescheduled to the JFF Center of Excellence on the UE campus, which is basically a carpet.
Yeah.
And Real Mona.
And you can see why they would have wanted it rescheduled if that's the brand of football they want to play.
They took advantage of that rescheduled game for that particular location. So Real Mona, I'm really excited to see what they have for the rest of the league. They look really pretty good. I'm seeing Brianna on the left side there going pretty strong. Ashburn doing pretty well as well in the middle of the park. They have this young number 4. She is so talented, probably one of the best defensive midfielder. And I asked, what is she in the national program? I'm yet to hear about it. They're so fantastic all around. We see Monica Bozlevich coming into the middle of the park and just adding some real talent there. Real Mona, they look really good.
Yeah, a lot of composure in how they play as well. And that's all going to come from their ideals coming down from the coach, and then how he's transposing that to the players. So, yeah, they certainly look like a force, and I think the league will be waking up to their qualities soon.
I mean, we had a lot to say about that performance. Let's see what the coaches had to say.
All right, Coach, obviously you wanted the 3 points, but I think a draw today showed some good spirit from your girls.
Yeah, the girls, they fight a lot. You know, it was a tight game, and, the girls show a real hunger for the game. Unfortunately, we never execute 100%, hence we missed some crucial chances. But we have some brilliant defending from our defenders as well. So, a point, it seems to be a fair result.
We're used to Cavalier playing some really exciting football. What really happened today?
They just didn't turn up today. We got numerous chances and then we just didn't finish them, especially in the first half. We should have ended the first half at least about 3-0, but it wasn't meant to be.
Coach, another loss, but what are the takeaways from this one?
Well, my takeaway is that I still feel a little bit confident in my team, in the sense that I know this is one of the worst games they have ever played. We have never been like this throughout the whole season, throughout training, practices and so on. So I look forward to them learning from this experience, becoming more confident as we go along. I trust that as the games go on, I'm sure you will see improvement from Wi-Fi, and we'll give you some favorable results in Wi-Fi's favor.
Perfect record, 3 from 3. It seems like you guys want the title.
Well, definitely, you don't play in a competition unless you're confident you can win the title. And I think we were a little bit flat in the first half, even right through the game, because I think it's the distance as we travel, and we got off to late from our club base, coming so far. And I think, all in all, it's a good performance, because 3 points we came here for, and I think we got it.
Coach, it was a difficult game in some aspects, but your team got the victory. I'm sure you're very happy with that.
Yes, I'm pleased. Coming against the Springers team, I knew that it was going to be a tough game. We have 3 games on the season so far, and every game we have been putting out debutants, and I'm really, really pleased with the performance of the girls.
But I'm sure you're still very proud of your team.
Yeah, man. When I hear the coach of Bragg say he has 5 national players not playing, I wish I could talk like him, But it's a challenge, especially down in the West, and the girls, and you can't get them to practice as you want. Like 2 days a week, you get 8 this Wednesday, 8 Thursday. It's hard to put a team together, And against a team like Frasers, it's gonna be always gonna be hard.
Yeah, I mean, production team really pushing the envelope that week, having 3 televised games. But I think Cavalier were very, very lucky to get a point in that game with Proving Girls. They showed up, and the only thing that they didn't prove on that day was to score because they provided so many chances for themselves. They just couldn't take advantage.
Yeah, and Cavalier, I think they're feeling the strain a bit in terms of what they would have lost transfer-wise as opposed to last season. I do think that they're struggling a bit to find their momentum, especially in attack. And I think it's been showing throughout the season so far. This isn't, as you said when you were asking your questions, this isn't the Cavalier that we're accustomed to seeing. Can they turn it around? Of course, they still do have quality players and a quality coaching staff, but it's certainly not the start that we're used to seeing.
Yeah, it seems to be some midfield transition problem because they're defending well. They're just not getting the football to their strikers or goal scorers efficiently as they would like. So a bit of transition issue with them in the middle of the park. You were on commentary for that Springers game.
Yeah, and we were saying that Springers, they started the season well, kept clean sheets, and I think they were competitive for some of that Fraser's Whip game. Springers, they're a team that, you could tell that they didn't quite have the same experience level that Fraser's Whip team had, even though, Fraser's Whip, they're a young team, but most of those girls would have been playing for quite some time. And I think it was really just decisiveness that was really the difference in that game. Springers did have some big chances. They were bailed out by, once again, a goalkeeper that would have come over from Cavalier, Flake. They were bailed out on a couple of occasions. So Fraser's Whip did show some vulnerability, but in the end, their experience, their quality really showed. But Springers, they certainly showed that they can be a nuisance to many teams in the league.
And as the coach would have mentioned for Arnett Gardens, they started pretty slow in that game, but once the groove got in place, it was just an emphatic performance again from the Junglist.
Yeah, no, when you speak about, as in you would have done commentary on that game, so you know how difficult it can be to make that journey, make that trek. I remember you and I working together a couple of years ago, and we had a game, or we were supposed to have a game in Portland, and unfortunately that game was cancelled. Just random Jamaican things, referees striking or whatnot. And I remember how upset we were because that journey is not an easy one to make. So I can imagine players being probably cramped up in a bus, when they get out onto the pitch, whether they warm up or not, it's going to be difficult for them to get in that groove. I think, but going along, playing the game, especially with that lovely backdrop down there at Carter Park, it's going to inspire them eventually. Arnett Gardens got that inspiration, and in the end, they got the victory, and they continue looking pretty ominous in the league.
Yeah, so Carter Park, lovely backdrop as you mentioned, Leje. It's one of the most beautiful fields in Jamaica as regards to playing surface. So definitely whenever we go to Carter Park, we expect to see some quality football. Now, in match week 4, Arnett Gardens and Cavalier, they played to a 1-1 draw. Wi-Fi United and Real Mona shared 6 goals in a 3-3 thriller. Los Perfectos beat Real Mobe 3-0 and Federal United edged Springers 3-2. So the results of the week, Fraser's Whip, they performed so emphatically, getting an 11-0 victory over Mile Gully. That must felt good for them, but also wonder what Mile Gully is going through.
I mean, we've been speaking throughout this show so far and saying that, Fraser's Whip maybe not playing their best as yet, maybe not quite doing what we expected them to do. Coach Courtney Dowdy speaking about, his team just trying to start to get the wheels turning, being modest. I think they threw all of the modesty out of the window because that game actually, it was interrupted by some lightning for around a half hour or more. It was 3-0 after 32 minutes. It seemed as if it was a similar type of performance like what we've been seeing from Fraser's Whip. I don't know what happened in that dressing room during that break, but they came out and scored 4 goals before the end of the first half, making it 7-0. And then in the second half, I think if they really wanted to, they really could have gone for an even bigger jugular. But they decided to keep the ball a little bit more. That was the Fraser's Whip that we saw last season, and it was pretty frightening to see because I don't think they've quite hit their stride as yet. But if there was any significant warning to the rest of the league, that was certainly it from the defending champions.
And you talk about warning, a couple of hat-tricks in that one as well.
Yeah, Abigail Abel, who I gave man of the match. Head coach Courtney Dowdy didn't agree with that, but Chanel Spence as well, Christina Salmon. So 3 players getting hat-trick, Savizan getting a brace. So they had goals from all around, a lot of different types of goals, whether it be from, good passing plays, going down the flanks, getting the ball into the box, whether it could be a set piece, whether it could be shots from distance. It was all over. It was carnage, really.
All right, AJ, it's good that you mentioned that, but before we go just a little bit deep in that, let's see what the coaches had to say at the end of that game.
Coach Hilton, it was always going to be a difficult game coming up against this Fraser's Whip team. What are the positives you would have seen from this result in the end?
It's for us to just keep on going. In terms of positive, the girls went out there and they really fought. So we'll keep on pushing. As the school girls season goes down, we'll be able to be training properly and to get where we need to get to as a team.
Coach Dowdy, many people would have said Fraser's Whip haven't quite hit their stride so far this season. I'm sure this performance would go a bit to silencing those doubters.
Yes, definitely, and our players are back now, and I brought on some, I started some, and I think we did well today.
And coach, it was a different story in the semi-final last season when Cavalier would have gotten the better of you. This season your team came out with much more fight. They showed a lot more expression on the pitch. Does that make you happy?
Well, we are very disappointed in the sense that we didn't get the W, but we got a point. A point at home. It's understandable what we needed to win. To cement ourselves. Going forward. We'd have created daylight between teams, and our foot will be there in the semi-final. But hence we are happy and we just continue.
Team fought well. It's obviously a lot of changes as opposed to last season. What have you made of their impact and everything you've seen so far this season?
Because we have lost at least 7 to 8 players, and so we are in a build-back stage, and I'm proud of where they're playing and going forward.
Yeah, so Fraser's Whip 11-0 against My Gully, firing on several cylinders. Someone would possibly want to say Arnett Gardens having their first drawn game of the season with Cavalier. That was a blockbuster. That one was always going to be tough. Yeah,
that was a very, very tough game. The intensity of that game was quite frightening for this early in the season. Both teams, especially how Arnett Gardens, I would say, started both halves of football. The first half, how they started really quick. The second half as well, they started really quickly. But Cavalier, they really dug in. They didn't let the game get away from them. And once it was 1-0, it was always going to be quite difficult for Arnett to hold out really in the end, because when you're playing at that intensity, it's going to be times where you have to taper off a bit. Cavalier, in the end, they didn't create many chances, but if it's anything we learn about the Cavalier organization on a whole, they don't need many chances, and they ended up taking one, and it finished 1-1, and that was a very, very good game for me.
Fraser's Whip having goals being scored all over the park from different players. Cavaliers struggling a little bit in front of goal.
Wonder why?
Let's see why. I mean, let's talk about transfers. Teams have already begun to strengthen their squads, bringing in key players to boost their title ambitions. And these additions are already playing a major role as the season progresses. And for the coaches, is getting pretty heated on that aspect of the league. Before we comment on it, let's hear what the coaches have to say about the transfer season.
We compete well last year. Now losing 7 players to rivals, 7 starting players to rival clubs. It's going to be hard for us to. But we're rebuilding, and these girls are enthused and they want to fight, and they'll keep on doing that. So that's one of the things, So we're going to have to face the rough road this year, in order and looking for a brighter future.
I must say that we have the Cavaliers' leading goal scorer from last year in our team, and I think that she'll add a whole lot more to our team in terms of losing Davia Richards. She will step in and fill the gap, and I believe that she will do well here.
The transfer is always good because I myself have, I think I've recruited about 6 players this season. So transfer is always good, and it allows you to spread the competition across the league. So people always gravitate to winners. So you have one club winning all the while. These are young girls. They always want to go to who they see winning, But it's really up to us coaches to persuade a player to come to your program? What about your program that is attractive, that will attract players to come to you, and not just saying everybody's going to one particular club, because that club is doing what they need to do to stay on top. So kudos to them.
It can work both ways. One, in terms of advantages, you can get strength to your squad. Two, in terms of disadvantages, the gel and the players and not everybody liking everybody, or people coming in and get other people's game, and so there's a whole heap of different factors can really affect where the transfer window is concerned.
With all the better player going to Fraser's Whip or another team, it's kind of not good for the league in somewhat, but it's good for the league in another way, where everybody who is good can stay in that club and embrace and move up. But for the club that's trying, and you don't get a player to transfer to your club, it's kind of unfortunate that everybody going to Fraser's Whip or another club when it could be spread all over.
So I can speak on behalf of that, why the players leave. So I think the onus is on them to fix that. I can't talk, but all I know, if it's to their detriment, it's going to be to their detriment. And if it's their rebuilding or it's going to be to their strength, let us wait and see.
We have a culture here, so I guess they want to be a part of
that. I wonder if my producer had a lot to do with having Fraser's Whip coach speaking at the end of that bite. The organization is attracting a lot of players.
Yeah, certainly. How I perceive football, I don't see an issue with the how people say the rich getting richer in terms of players. I do think that obviously, if you're going to have to play against them, you're going to be quite salty about that. But how I see it, football at the end of the day, despite how everyone else wants to see it, it's a players' game. Quality players dictates how well you can do in a competition, how far you can go. And if there are going to be teams that consistently challenge at the top of the table, it is going to be attractive for those players to go there. And if they're playing the best football, winning games, winning titles, who wouldn't want to play for them? If you look at football all across the world, which player doesn't want to play for Barcelona or Real Madrid? You get me? So that's just how it is. Football players are humans also. They also have goals and ambitions. At the same time, when you look at the other clubs, obviously, they're name-dropping teams and they're saying that, maybe they're going to one club. It's not only one club getting the benefits of this. When you think about even Arnett Gardens and their coaching staff saying that, it's a gelling issue, I think that all comes down to the system that's put in place by the coach. Because based on what I've seen on the Fraser's website, they look like quite a happy family over there. But if you were to look at maybe if they went to another team, it would be difficult for them to really acclimatize to that program. So it's all about what's fostered from the management, the players, the coaching staff. That's what really causes an environment to grow. So all in all, I have no problem with it. It's providing better teams, better football, but obviously the other teams, they're going to be quite upset that they would have lost some of their best players.
Playing in the league, the ultimate goal is to become champions, is to get that silverware, the Jamaica Women's Premier League trophy. And these players, as you mentioned, they're humans and they want to win. Obviously, they're going to want to play for a team that has the chance to really challenge for the title. And I had the chance to speak with a few of those transferred players who are now playing with Fraser's, with the likes of Chanel Spence and Kersha Thomas. And they would have mentioned that they would have given a large portion of their playing career to Cavalier and always come in second. And so making that transfer is really just a move to get one step closer to the title.
Yeah, as I said, I don't blame them at all. Those players have, gone into Fraser's Whip. They've immediately looked like Fraser's Whip players because it's two distinct different play styles. It's a different program to go into. As Coach Courtney Dowdy would have said, clearly a lot of people love the program. It's very attractive. So I think, I can't say too much, but what I will say, I don't mind it. Mm-hmm. I love the fact that players are taking the responsibility on themselves to, go on and be successful. And that's all I'll say for now, at least.
It speaks to the quality of the league, really.
Yeah.
The Jamaica Women's Premier League is now transcending a new barrier, and it's beginning to become so attractive to sponsors and players, and fans alike. I'm seeing we went to Carter Park in Portland, and it was like a full stadium down there watching Women's Premier League. So it was a really good look. For Fraser's Whip, losing Davia Richards to the Serbian Women's League in Europe there, and immediately replacing her with Chanel Spence, who was the third highest goal scorer last season. We also have other teams who've mentioned that they have also brought in like 6 or 7 new players. They aren't big names, but they are doing the groundwork as well to bringing in players into their squad. So even though they're an organization who have been winning the league for quite some time, the onus is also on these management staff to really create that atmosphere around their team and to, I guess, invest in their recruitment system as well.
Yeah, most definitely, because the talent is there. It's spread all across the entire island. So it's all about getting that recruitment. I think maybe apart from certain clubs, as I mentioned, the strong community clubs, I would namely like Arnett Gardens or Los Perfectos, a lot of what they do is predicated on, I would say, what the community produces, right? And you could hear it from the coaching staff for both of those clubs, because it was very interesting to say that the Arnett Gardens coaching staff, they're saying that maybe it would be difficult for other players to come in and gel, because Arnett Gardens have already fostered an environment, a very specific environment, to be successful in their way. So it's very difficult all across the board, and every team has different needs, and every team requires different things, same as the players. So it's all about just getting the right mix, and I think Fraser's Whip is doing a great job in getting their mix right.
Yep, lots to talk about as regards to the transfers and how these teams are progressing in the league. But quickly, Lijay, it's time to recognize excellence. Discussions have already started to spark about the Jamaica Women's Premier League Player of the Month. I have my take. I want to hear yours first.
Oh, that's a tricky one, considering the amount of quality we've seen so far this season. But I think for me, it would be difficult to look past a couple of the players that are in and around the top scorers in the league. But coincidentally, Javid, you have known me for quite some time, so you know the stock and the importance I put on.
I know you're gonna go for a defensive midfielder.
Yeah, you know me. I tell you, he knows me very, very well. So I was thinking about Christina Salmon of Fraser's Whip, but I'm actually going to give it to Abigail Abel. I think that what she does in terms of being that bridge between the attacking unit and the defensive unit, while also chipping in with goals, while also being a leader on the pitch, especially considering they've brought in so many new players. I think what she does at the base of Fraser's Whip midfield has led me to believe, especially coming off of a hat-trick in the last game from that position. Yeah, for me, I would give her the edge as my player of the month.
I mean, that's a pretty strong shout. I don't have any objections to it. She's been a phenomenal captain, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
Phenomenal player she is, always commanding from the back and loves to get up front as well and, getting a few goals of her own. But my take on that, though, I really love Shakira Douglas from Arnett Gardens. She's stylish, she's skillful, she's very direct. And even though she's an attacking player that plays pretty high up the pitch, the way she comes and helps out the defense in transition as well. So from helping in defense to transition in the midfield to being up front and scoring a lot of goals. She's their leading goal scorer right now. I think she's phenomenal. I think she's a quality player, and she scored 37 goals last season.
Yeah.
She was the second highest goal scorer. So let's see what this season have up for her. But not a bad shout. I think Douglas is up there as well.
Yeah.
So I want to special thanks to Lijay, my co-host and commentator for the Jamaica Women's Premier League. Known him for quite some time, and always lovely to have him on set. We'll now take a short break, and when we return, we have a special guest in our player focus segment. We'll be right back.
We're always innovating to keep you always moving forward.
I love football, but I don't just play for me. I do it for Jamaica and for the fans on the journey with us. The ones who live for every shot and cheer every goal. The ones who know that performing on the big stage means big effort with big support. And of course, chicken with big flavor.
KFC's Big Deal. 3 pieces of delicious chicken, fries, and a drink. The perfect fan fuel for cheering on or history-making reggae girls. KFC, proud sponsors of Khadija Shaw and the Reggae Girls.
Team, we need to pass the ball quicker. Much quicker. And you need to make sure. Need to. I'm the coach. And I'm the assistant coach. No. Your job is to bring the water and keep us hydrated. Matter of fact, where's the water?
I've got it, coach.
The world through rose-colored glasses. Try the new and delicious True Shake Strawberry.
Football massive, get ready to score big with Just Bet Goal Rush. You could score a VIP football experience in New York. Our weekly prizes. All you have to do is place a bet worth $2,500 or more in store or online. Then complete the entry form at goalrush.justbetja.com and upload the ticket for your chance to score. Promotion runs March 1 to July 19. Grand draw May 18. But you still have a chance to score weekly prizes from June 1 to July 19. So just bet. Conditions apply. Authorized under Section 58(3) of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act. Just bet.
In sports, it's all about pushing your limits, giving it your all. Sometimes, the key to winning is knowing when to pause. It's not just about performance, it's about taking a moment, finding your rhythm. Taking time for myself, connecting mind and body, and finding my inner strength.
Pause to find power. Because in those moments, we discover our true potential. Pause is power.
In Jamaica. So welcome to this historic groundbreaking ceremony. Winning Night Success 2026. Let's hold our balloons up. 2, 1.
Powell tiptoes forward, steps up, scores! Destiny Powell! Returns now, goes for a strike! Jamaica Women's Premier League champions, Tracy Smith.
Welcome back to the Jamaica Women's Premier League recap show. And as I told you before, we went into the commercial break. I had a special guest coming on set, and no other than Abigail Mullins, an outstanding Arnett Gardens player. We're going to talk to her for a little while and hear her journey. Hi Abigail, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm fine.
See your nice brown pants and Arnett Gardens shirt. Where are you coming from?
Coming from school.
What school do you attend?
GC Foster College.
GC Foster. Okay, what are you studying there?
Sports administration and coaching.
Oh, so you're planning to make that transition afterwards and going into coaching?
Yes, sir.
Okay, lovely. Well, let's talk about your journey though in football. Where did that start? How did that start?
It started when I was this small, when I growing up in Mobay. I used to play for this academy named Our Kids Academy, with Mr. Comrie and others. Yeah, that's where it started. Well, I used to play for my school team, then I transitioned from school to academy. I was recommended by a referee to a coach, so Yeah.
Tell me about this coach. I'm sure he was very instrumental in terms of your early development.
He really was. I think he's, not to sound biased or anything, I think he's the only coach can get a full performance from me. Like mentally, physically, he's the only one that
This was when you were at the academy or high school?
academy.
Academy. What's the name of the academy again?
Our Kids Academy.
And how long did you spend there?
My entire life. Basically until I reached what, 8th grade? Yeah. When I transferred schools.
What school did you attend first?
I went to Montego Bay High.
Okay. You played sport there? You played football there as well?
No, I didn't.
There isn't a football program
They
there?
had one, but I couldn't play football for them at the time. My mother said no.
Oh, you're one of those students who had
Academy
troubles.
first.
Yeah. I mean, I had that trouble. I was supposed to be a really good footballer too. But that's the story for another time. So you left from the academy and you came to Kingston.
Right.
You attended Woolmer's Girls at the time.
Right.
How was your time there? Because you played football for them one season.
Well, it started off, then COVID came, so I never really played high school football at all either.
Okay.
So COVID came and took that away too.
So after Woolmer's, how did you get to Arnett Gardens?
I don't even know. I came to Arnett Gardens 2025. Yes, I was recommended by a coach from Ballers Academy because I used to play for Ballers too. I was recommended from a coach from Ballers to the head manager of Arnett. That's how I got to Arnett.
And how has your time been there since you?
So far?
I mean, this is your second season with them.
Yeah.
How was last year?
Last year, I didn't start from the beginning, so I never really know everybody. But they always say a great player connects with people that are also great. So I feel like I fit in because of my skills and my communication or just my mannerism overall.
And you're Arnett Gardens now, but I also understand that you were away in Europe as well, playing football for some time. Tell us about that.
Was a short experience, but it was worth the wait or worth the time. I played for a club in Turkey. Well, not played for because I was young at the time. I started training with a club in Europe. I believe it's Altespor. All I can say, training overseas is not for the weak. It's really not, especially in Europe where it's extremely cold. You're not used to the temperature, you're used to the sunny climate or things like that. But it was good. Their training, their infrastructure, everything is just perfect. It's something that I would want to go back to, but with time.
Well, I get the feeling that there's some calls coming in for Abigail Mullins to head back into Europe or even in North America. Are there any clubs on your heels right now to play for them overseas?
Well, not to my knowledge, but I have coaches that wants me to go out again and show the world what I'm
capable of. You were in the national program as well?
I'm from U15 straight up to U17, yeah.
I mean, you're obviously one of the best or better defensive midfielders in the league. I love watching you. I love having games to call where Abigail Mullins is involved. So calm on the football. A wonderful IQ, I would say. For me, watching players, having a good IQ and coupling that with your skill set is something amazing to watch, and I think you do that very well. Yeah. How do you even reach to that point? I know you had a coach that developed you early on, but what helped in that transition from schoolgirl football to now playing in professional women's Premier League?
I don't really know. I just grew up to play. I was always playing with my brothers, going to corner leagues, this small, going to corner leagues, being the only girl on the team from a young So I don't really have much training, like, train to become dear and dear. I just played football, wanted football, and I just played it.
Your brothers played in
Oh,
any
my
competitive
brother,
league?
yeah, he used to play for Kanga College.
Okay.
Yeah,
What's his name?
Michael Rickman.
Michael Rittman. Okay. So it runs in the league. It runs in the
And my
family.
father used to play as well, yeah.
For Cornwall College as well?
No, for Central Kingston, yeah.
Oh, okay. That's lovely. I guess that's where the inspiration came from. But in terms of professional football, do you look up to any specific player or team? Are you having any troubles in the English Premier League right now?
I don't really watch English Premier League football or any football at all. But I do have a couple people that I look up to. I can kick, right?
Right, yeah.
Everybody's I can kick.
You know you have that on you.
The person I really look up to in terms of kicking is Andre Pirlo. Much don't know of him, but
From
he's
Italy.
Yes,
Right.
he's very good at
The dead ball.
the dead ball kicking. Yeah, I idolize him when it comes on to kicking. And then I also idolize Ronaldinho. He's magnificent. His touches are immaculate.
I mean, I find it very interesting that you would be inspired by someone like a Pirlo. Again, another player that I would say that has tremendous IQ when it comes on to
Right.
football intelligence. And I guess that's where that came from as regards to your
Watching
play,
him,
because
yeah.
you're so intelligent on the park. When did you even start watching Pirlo? Was it like clips or live games?
First time being on YouTube, because I don't really get phones like that growing up. First time on YouTube, I searched this one clip. Who's the best shot taker? Or Andre Pirlo was the first one. Even Mr. Comrie, he said to me, you should go out and search up who Andre Pirlo was, because he used to normally assign players with ballers. We had to research them and keep them as our own. And on match days when we were going out, he would quiz us on who the player are or who plays. So we used to have that thing where we do.
I mean, speaking from experience, I can understand, and I know the influence of that. When I was in my prime, in my primary school league, my coach did say I play a lot like Zidane, and that motivated me. That gave me some level of confidence and just the way I played on the parks. I'm sure that had a lot to do with how you played as well. Talk to me now about Ronaldinho, because I know you can kick the ball from distances. With regards to free kick, I know you had a few in the last game. Didn't really quite connect, but as his influence on you, how did you take that?
I'm not the best right now in terms of football. I was once back then, but I used to be like our number 10, Suen. I used to be a shifter. Swift all around the field, go there and come back there. I used to be like Ronaldinho. Nobody could take my ball. But all has went down the drain, so. But I really idolize him in that aspect.
It seems like there's a shift in your game, though. When I say shift, I mean you're still playing, but I get the feeling that you're not as connected as it used to be. Is there anything in particular as regards to why that happened? Because you're still such a quality player with not that, I guess, motivation to really play right now. What happened?
I don't know how to really say this, but mental health has taken over. I'm battling with a lot, and I would advise everybody that mental health doesn't only start from, him a mad out, or it starts from little signs, depressions, anxiety, things like that, not being able to speak, just small things like that. So just take heed and take care of yourselves before it gets to the point where you can no longer manage.
And it's good that you mentioned that, and I hope you do get through to it. It's a very sensitive situation, I can understand. We wish you all the best and want to ensure that you're in a good space going forward. Awesome. So it's fantastic talking to you, Abigail. Wishing you all the best for the rest of the season, for the rest of the league, and for the rest of your career as you plan to even transition afterwards. We wish you all the best. We hope that you find that overwhelming love for the game of football again, as regards to being a quality player that you are. And we hope to see you on the big stage. So after 4 match weeks, the table is starting to take a shape to look like this. Yeah, so we can see these teams who are already ascending to the top of the league. Also, some very good numbers as regards to goal scorers, and lots of names in that pile to look out for the rest of the season. That's it for this week's show of the Jamaica Women's Premier League recap. The competition is only getting stronger, and with plenty more football to come, anything can happen. I'm your host, and this has been JWPL Recap Show.